In this week's reflection, I want to speak about how we spend our time and where we choose to place our attention. Because the things that we choose to focus on and how we spend our time determines the quality of our life, determines us having positive experience of life versus a negative experience of life. Because if we choose to focus on the things that drain us, that we don't enjoy, or that we see as purely obligations, things that we have to do, we are not going to have a very joyful experience of life. And as a result of that negative perception of life, we are then more likely to engage in activities that contribute to us perhaps escaping from the life that we're living and perhaps contribute to us not using our time productively. And when I say productively, I'm not saying that you have to work and not relax. Productively, in that we are not serving what our needs are and we're not contributing to a joyful experience of life. So let me offer an example. You might be in a job that you hate. You may dislike your job, but you're telling yourself, I need this job. I need this job in order to make money, in order to pay the bills. And because you've said that to yourself, I need this job, and you're in a job that you hate, you then start engaging in behaviors that are wanting to take you away from your current experience of life. So escaping behaviors. This is why things like going after work drinking, going out, playing games all day, just doing activities that don't really contribute to a truly joyful, fulfilled experience of life, because you're engaging in behaviors that you're just trying to escape the life you're living in. Because you've said to yourself, I need to do this job that I hate, because there is this need, this obligation that you have to do this job that you hate, you then start to identify things that help take you away from that, help to try and counteract that negative feeling. And when we view the world through that lens, which is I'm obligated to do this, I have to do this thing that I hate, you then start to focus on things that don't actually serve you or fulfill your life, because you're using it as a means to escape pain rather than to move towards growth and positive change. So the way we talk to ourselves really affects how we spend our time and what we choose to focus on. So instead of saying, I have to do this thing that I hate, you can reframe it by saying, I get to do this. You focus on the positive aspects of it. And you might feel, well, how can I do that? There's no positive aspects to me doing this job that I dislike. But you focus on what the job offers you. What is it about the job that fulfills a need? And you might think there's nothing about that job that fulfills a need, in which case you can start thinking, what exists out there that would fill my need? What needs do I have in the job that I work in? How is the job I'm working in now not filling that need? We tend to focus heavily on the emotion, but not enough of the need underneath it, because that's what the emotion is communicating to us. Now, how this relates in terms of how we spend our time is that the way we perceive things determines what actions we take, how we feel about things, and the way we spend our time. So by addressing the needs we have and the perception we currently have about our life, that has a domino effect in terms of how we spend our time, what we choose to focus on, where we invest our attention. So if you come from a perception of, I get to do this job that's really positive and I want to do more of that, you get to shift your attention towards doing more of the things that fill that need. If you feel that actually nothing in my life is fulfilling the needs I have, that will shift your attention towards what does fill the needs you have. So this is really where the power of the mind comes in. And you can really add to that positive change by investing your attention in the places that would serve the needs that you have. So first you need to understand, what needs do I have? And I will go into this in more detail in other videos, but there are many strategies and techniques you can use to do that. One of the ways you can do that, and you can click to see the video, is the video I did on the wheel of life, where you essentially piece together your life in different components in one wheel, and you can see how satisfied you are in each life area, how much time you're spending in each life area, and determine whether you need to spend more or less time in each of those areas. And it's a very very useful exercise, which I did. It took me half an hour to do, so it's not too much time, but you get to really see on paper what your life looks like as a wheel and where exactly your attention is spread across each of these areas. And the purpose of this reflection is to focus on attention, where we spend our time. I think we all want to be productive. We all want to spend our time efficiently. Our time is limited. I've been reflecting on this more and more. One of the things that I've wanted to do as part of my professional development, as part of my personal growth, is to read more. Something, for some reason, I've always struggled with. I haven't struggled with reading. I've read when I've had to. I've had to read to learn and to do essays. So I've actually read a lot when I think about it, because you know, through the counselling course and through my university courses, you have to read. There's no way to get around it. But I always saw it as an obligation rather than something I wanted to do. And so recently, I've been investing more of my time into reading. And the way I've done that is I've not set aside time to read in the day. I've actually said, how much of my time do I waste? And I'm not talking about resting or doing things that are for me or watching a movie, things that I feel that serve me to help energize me, because these are green activities that I'm doing. I'm not talking about that. That's not time wasting. For me, time wasting is just sitting and waiting, or perhaps I've had a client session and I've got a couple hours until the next client session. As part of that process, I unwind a bit, I do some notes, but then I do a lot of waiting or doing things around the house, whatever it is. So I've learned, all right, any spare time I have, grab my book and read. And so this is what I've been doing lately, and it's actually been enabled me to get through books much faster. And that's not been the purpose. The purpose is I want to read more, and reading is going to last me for the rest of my life. There's endless reading I have to do, but this is just a way that I can look back at the end of the day thinking I've learned so much from what I've read. I've utilized my time and spent my attention where otherwise I would have been just waiting. I've invested it into reading, and it's helping me to make more content for future videos. It's in some cases helping me with my clients. So really, it's an investment that's been paying dividends so far. And I'm very happy with the way I've done this. And it just got me thinking about how we spend our time. A lot of the time where I was just sitting and waiting, I wasn't even thinking I was wasting time. I was just sitting and waiting. And I wanted to make this video just to highlight how really we spend our time, and whether we truly think about how we spend our time. Particularly, I think if you're an entrepreneur and you're making your own business, the point is to maximize the growth of the business. And there are, as an entrepreneur, you really, I think of many avenues and arms of how to grow a business. So when I started Desh Mofidi Counselling, it was with the purpose and service of being a counselor and seeing clients. And this is very much the core of my business. But since then, I've been developing other ideas as to how I can offer my services in different formats, perhaps those that are more affordable, more accessible. And it's got me thinking around, okay, well, I started off, I'm a counselor and this is what I thought I would do all the time. But actually, there's other things I can do to help support clients and to help support viewers in imparting information, gathering information. So it's got me really thinking around different things I can try. And this is where the importance of time and attention comes in. Because if I thought, all right, I'm a counselor, this is all I'm going to do, just see clients one-to-one, if I still had that perception, I would spend the time in the same way, seeing clients, waiting in between each client session, because for me, that was all I had to do. But now I'm thinking of other things I can do. I've noticed my time in between client sessions being used towards the service of accomplishing those things. And one of the things that I've just discussed was reading. And so I wanted to focus on this because I feel that a lot of people would benefit from really understanding how they spend their time, especially if you spend your time in things that are red. And by red, I mean draining you, where you could potentially avoid that and switch that towards something that's green or even amber. Green, if it energizes you, great. Or even going from something that drains you, just to be neutral. Just, I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to sit. I'm not going to, you know, charge my battery necessarily, but I'm not going to drain it either. So using your time and attention towards the service of how you feel. And when you do that, it is an investment, because then as a result of how you feel, you are more likely to engage in activities that support you for growth, help you to move forward and accomplish any goals that you have, or help you just feel better generally. The way we spend our time and attention also, for the most part, and this includes me, is in thinking. Playing to our anxieties, playing to our fears, thinking and overthinking and overthinking, and the amount of not just time, but energy that burns within us, when really nothing is accomplished at the end of it. Now, if you're trying to solve a problem and you're using analyses to solve that problem, that's a different story, because you're trying to come to a solution through analysis. And in a business setting, that makes sense. But when it comes to your anxiety and you do that, often it feeds the anxiety even more. It grows it even more. And what you need to do is really stop to stay with that anxiety. Use your time and attention to focus on the anxiety. Think, where does this come from? What need is my anxiety trying to communicate? Because I'm anxious. What am I anxious about? What's happening right now? We can use our time effectively to serve us, rather than waste time by overthinking, by waiting, and not doing something in that gap that would actually be productive for us, even if that means resting. Not just waiting aimlessly for the next thing, because that's not really the same as resting. If you're waiting for the next thing, you're just thinking about the next thing. You're not in the moment. Whereas if you sit and just enjoy the moment where you are, that's more productive than just waiting for it. I want to finish this reflection by encouraging you to really look at the way you spend your time. What activities do you do? What habits do you have? What things do you do to fill your time? And out of those things, which of those is energizing and which of those is draining? And there might be periods of time when nothing really happens. Can you utilize that time in service of yourself by doing something that you consider to be productive, that you consider to energize you and make you feel good? The reason I shared about my own journey with reading is because I'm feeling more productive. And for me, what that feels like is I'm achieving a sense of purpose, and I'm learning and I'm growing, and it's actually paying dividends, because I'm coming up with new ideas for future videos that I can do. I'm learning and I'm able to apply new techniques and impart new knowledge to my clients and use it in my client sessions. So it's been very helpful for me. And that was just making use out of the spare time I had. So look at where you spend your time, identify pockets of time, and think about what things you could do that would serve you by using those spare pockets of time you have available, and see how, as a result of that, you feel and where you spend your attention in the future, and just what difference it makes to your quality of life. Thanks for watching.